back, everyone, to another episode of Noise to Music, where we take the noise in our life, the turbulence in our life, and we turn it into wonderful, beautiful music. Today, we're going to be embarking on a three-section series. I'm not going to call it parts because there's going to be a lot of parts to it. And it's based off a book called Mesilat Yesharim, Pathways of the Just, which I suggest is a nice, great, deep read. It's not an easy read. He breaks up our growth pattern into numerous sections. We're going to take the first three and essentially create like a revolving door that allows us to get into a cycle of growth. Whenever we want to attain a goal, this system is what we should put into effect. It could be for fitness, it could be for eating, it could be for spirituality, it could be for raising kids, marriage, whatever it might be. You will have a goal in mind. This system that we're going to be discussing is effective and a cycle that we should be getting into. So he breaks it up into three parts. First of all, he calls the first section Chovat Ha'adam Be'olamo, which will identify will claim that and will use the terminology of identifying what man's duty in this world, or just identify what is my task. Second is Zehirut, which he calls watchfulness, and we'll identify that as removing negativity. The third is Zerizut, or we'll identify that as being proactive and going ahead. So 3 steps: identify, remove, go ahead. Today we're going to be discussing identify. Now he uses the language of Ma chovat ha'adam be'olamo. What is man's duty in his world? He doesn't use the word in the world. He says, what is man's duty in his world? What does that mean? That means that effectively every person has his own world. Every person has his own unique relationship with God, with himself, and to look at, the sheep mentality of just look at what everyone else is doing and say, that's what I should be doing because that's what's going to work for me because it's successful for them is a travesty, because we're each so unique in this universe. In fact, our sages say, just like our faces are different than each other, our character is also different from each other. Our personality, the things that we need to be doing in life are also very different than one another. We live in a world where somebody posts something and, this is how I made $20,000 a week on YouTube by doing A, B, and C. You should do it too. It's great that it works for you if it does work for you, but who says that's my task? So Chovat Ha'adam Be'olamo means, what is my job in my unique world with God, in the universe, in history? No man has been the same. No person that is, was, or will be is like you. And you have to discover and identify what is your job, what is your task, what should you be doing, how should you be growing, what's special, different, challenging about you, in order to be able to conquer what will make you into the greatest person that you could ever be. It's kind of like discovering your inner child. How do we get to that point? So like we said, Chovat Ha'adam Be'olamo. What is your obligation in this world? I'm different. I need to identify what's special about me, and just what I should be doing. Stephen Covey says a beautiful parable. He says, you have to make sure that the ladder is placed against the right wall. Imagine you have, these 100 buckets of paint, and you have to take them up to this, to the second floor. So you're going up and down, and you're sweating, and you're really working hard, and your hands are hurting, your shoulders are hurting, and only to discover that what? The ladder is not even against the right wall. It shouldn't be going to that apartment. It shouldn't be going to that place. It should be going to another apartment somewhere else. It should be going to another room. I can't believe it. I did all that hard work, but it took me to the wrong place. What's the point? The point is, make sure that your ladder is on the right wall. Make sure your end goal is where you need to go. Just because you're working hard, we have this tendency. I'm working hard. I'm hustling. I'm moving. I'm sweating. It's difficult. This is what I should be doing. first make sure and identify where you need to go. Where do I need to be? What's my end goal? I need to identify what it is I need to work on. If I don't do that and I just hustle and follow the stream and follow a pattern, yes, I'm working very hard, only to discover that when I'm done, oh my gosh, this is not even the right place for me to be. So identify, identify, identify. That's what we're going to be talking about today. In today's podcast, in today's class, we're going to be talking about how do I go about identifying what it is that I need to be doing. So there are two ways, and they're actually opposite in their nature. First way is based on Rav Dessler, called Nikudat HaBchira, or the point of free choice. We're going to call that the point of contention. And he says, I'm not going to go into the entire parable, but basically he says, when you have two nations at war, okay, where is the tension? It's at their meeting place, the battlefront. The battlefront. The battlefront is where the war is. Everything behind the battlefront on both sides is almost regular and normal life for whatever war is called normal. But the real point is the battlefront, meaning what? We have to look at our setbacks. We have to look at our failures. We have to embrace our challenges. And we have to see that those are the places we really need to work on. So it takes a lot of courage to be able to say that or even to think that way. And the word that we choose to use is embrace, courage, things that I need to work on. From what? From my setbacks, my failures, my challenges. That's the point where there's really a war going on. That's where the battle is taking place. The growth is going to be taken when I conquer the point of contention. That is my point of free choice. Because everything that's easy to me, I'm not choosing to do it. It's easy to me. Everything that's way above me is too difficult for me, right? I just started working out at the gym. So should I be just lifting my towel 10 times with 3 reps, or should I be lifting 100 kilos? No, that's way too difficult. That's not where I should be. What should it be? I have to find the place that's difficult and still possible, but there. So Nikudat HaBchira means embracing, having the courage, the strength to look at my setbacks, my challenges, my failures, and so on and so forth, and say, this is what I want to work on. I've life. God has identified for me what it is I need to do and where I need to go. Life has taken me that way. Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch explains that he asks a question. He says, why, when God created the world, and it says in the Bible, it says in the Torah that God created the world, he goes through day one, what he created, day two, day 3, 4, 6, 7, so on and so forth. I know I skipped 5. But he says every single day, why doesn't God just say, okay, I created the world, guess what? Everything you see is because of me. So Rav Hirsch says, because there's a very subtle but important message in understanding that God created every aspect of creation. Why is that? What is it? It's to understand that every aspect of creation, every experience that we go through has something from me to gain. There's something there for me to see and say, hey, I can become better, greater, more productive, reach my goal, become a better person, the person I want to be from this experience, from every experience. And it's not just experiences, it's every aspect of the universe. It's materialism. Now is not the time, but I'll just throw it out there. Shopping, technology, fitness, eating, friendship, travel, all those are meant to make me into a great person. We need to discover how. But for our discussion here, we're talking about identify. We're talking about identify, where does life push you back, and what can I do about it, having the courage. So that is point one, Nikudat HaBchira, knowing that every experience, challenge, setback, I need to have the courage to embrace it and realize that there's something here for me to move forward with. It's a message, because we're talking about identifying. There's a message that God's telling me, that the universe, that Hashem is telling me through my life. Hey, I want you to become great in this. Don't run from it. I want you to become great. And it's another discussion of how our forefathers all had something. When God wanted them to become special in something, he tested them in the opposite. Like Abraham represented chesed, yet he had so many things in his life that were anti-chesed, were anti-charity, were anti-giving. He was commanded to his sacrifice his son. He didn't, but he was commanded to do it because God was testing him on the opposite. If you're on a desert island and you don't steal and you don't talk lashon hara, that doesn't make you a great person. You also don't have an opportunity when you're on a desert island. You need to be in the place of opportunity in order to be able to identify what it is I need to be doing and in order to move forward. So, first point of identifying my next step, my growth is through what? Points of contention. The second point, which is actually the complete opposite pattern, which is based on 7 Habits of Spiritually Successful People, which is talking about the actual opposite. And how do I hear, how do I identify what it is God wants me to work on, what it is that I should be moving forward on, is silence, nature, and non-judgment. We'll start it off with a parable. You're sitting in a pond, you're sitting in a nice quiet place, nice trees around, the water is nice and flat. You take this little pebble and you throw it in. What do you see? You see little baby ripples, we'll call them. You can even place your hand on and feel them. You take a little pebble and you throw it into a pond, and the little ripples are very noticeable. Okay? You're standing in the middle of the ocean and you heave into the ocean the Empire State Building. You heave this huge boulder. What happens? What do you see? Nothing. There's a storm. There's current. There's big waves. It just swallows it up. You don't hear it. You don't see it. You can't even notice it. What's the point of this parable? When we have silence in our mind, when we have harmony in our life, we can pick up on the smallest messages that we're supposed to be doing. We can pick up and receive the smallest level of blessing and direction for us. When there's noise and volcanic activity, and our mind is volatile and action constantly, then what happens? Even if God stands in front of us and holds up a sign and says, "This is the job you should be taking. This is your next business move. This is the person you're supposed to marry. This is how A, B, and C is supposed to take place." I'm telling you, signed God, you won't see it because your mind is full of activity and noise. We're going to elaborate on it, right? So this is actually the opposite point, is trying to create and seeing, identifying is about having silence. And how do we do that? 3 steps, 3 different plans of action. One is actual silence. That means shutting off your phone, not having noise. We live in a world that there's constantly noise going on. We constantly have access to noise. If we don't have noise, there's access to actual physical noise. Find those moments in your day, in your week, that are actually quiet. I can work in, with the loudest music going on. I can focus and do, the most sensitive type of work, but that's still noise. We need to be able to receive. In order to receive and identify, we need actual quiet. Give your brain a chance for silence and harmony. Think about the olden days, right? Before electricity, before technology, they didn't hear and have all the noise that go on. They never heard the screeching of the subway, right? How can your brain focus when you're in those moments? So does that mean that your entire life has to be that way? Absolutely not. Does it mean that we need these moments of actual silence and quiet in order to digest and identify? Absolutely. Next, nature. Nature has an energy of being able to touch our soul and bring out the sensitive parts, the identification. Connect with the power, the energy that God has placed in nature. You're sitting in front of a river. You're sitting in front of the ocean. You see the sunset. You see the sunrise. You don't go anywhere. You just take a deep, clean breath of fresh air. You see something beautiful to you. What is that? Those are all points of connecting to nature, the energy that God has placed into the world for us to be able to identify and to connect to our sensitive, deeper parts and see exactly who we are. We need that. So the first one was actual silence. The second is connecting to nature and pulling from that experience. We don't does not mean that we have to be living our life this way. Doesn't mean that's what your life about, but you need those moments in order to be able to identify. Let me share something else. Now, sometimes we're in a place where there is no actual silence. Sometimes we're not able to create those moments of nature. We have to be able to, within our brain, say, yes, there's a lot of noise going on, but I'm choosing to be in a place of silence right now. I'm blocking out all of this noise and volatile and volcanic activity and just going to kind of digest with myself. That's essentially what prayer is, what tefillah is. 3 times a day, we stand quietly, right? No movement, and just connect into that level. The third, and I think is very important, and would even venture to say the most practical for many of us, is called non judgment. What does that mean, non judgment? We live a life that we're constantly judging, evaluating, judging. What does that mean? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Are these friends right for me? Is my dating going well? My job, could I be doing more? Is it the right place? Should I leave? Should I stay? Should I travel? Should I go? Should I check? We're on our Instagram, our Facebook. Look what they're doing. Is it right for me? Is it not? It's not right for me. I'm so happy I chose not to do it. Wow, what a great decision. That's noise. Noise. Like a thermometer is never going to get anywhere if you pull it out and shake it all the time. You need to leave it and let it sit, right? The same thing with our brain. We have times that Judaism has allotted for us for silence, for judgment. Before we go to sleep, right? We have our vidui. We have those times during the day where we're supposed to evaluate, what is my day like? Am I doing the right thing? Am I productive? And so on and so forth. And we have those holidays that are meant for that. Yom Kippur, right? To evaluate, where am I going? What am I doing? What can I change? But we can't live in that mindset constantly, because that's another version of noise. That's another version of activity and volcanic activity that we never accept and digest or appreciate what we have and what we are, because everything is always a constant decision. We second guess ourselves constantly. Did I make the right decision? Did I not? Did I make the right? You did it already. You chose it already. Now might not be the right time to second guess it, because even if you did make the right decision, you're going to destroy it by constantly second guessing it. So have those moments of just non-judgment. We call that bitachon. Accept what is, right? It says in Pirkei Avot, Ezu Ashir, who is wealthy, one is that happy with their lot. Who's wealthy is not a financial status. It's not about travel. It's not about who's wealthy. It's about the one that can accept the moment that they have. We can't live life this way because you need to conquer the world. You want to take over. You want to accomplish. Every moment of your life is so valuable. You can't be complacent. But there also needs to be moments in our life where we are able to not judge, not second guess, live and be happy with what is. How does this pertain to our discussion? Because if you want to identify, you need to remove the noise. Part of the noise is the judgment that we're constantly passing on ourselves, on our family, on our friends, on our marriages, on our jobs, movement, volatile, volcanic activity, shaking the thermometer. Give it the right time, give it the right structure, but not constantly. Where do we get these ideas from? Our sages tell us that our forefathers were all shepherds. It's brought in a pasuk in Shemot Perek Mem Zayin that Paro, when he was discussing with the brothers, they came down to Egypt. Paro says, "What do you guys do for a living? Mama asechem?" And they said, "Ro'eh tzon." We are shepherds. We're shepherds. Our forefathers are shepherds. So the books explain, why was Moshe Rabbeinu a shepherd? Because you're out in the wilderness. You have the silence. You're able to connect to yourself. You're able to make the right decisions, take the right steps. Was Moshe Rabbeinu, was Moses and not an accomplished person? He changed history, humanity forever. He did what no man ever did. Why? Because he had the right time to be able to block out the noise and focus on what he needed to do and then go accomplish. That's our point. Do we have to live this way? Are we meant to be shepherds? No, we're not necessarily. Maybe you are, but we're not necessarily. But we do have to have those moments. So we're talking about identifying. That's the first step of our path. How do we identify? Why is identifying important? Because you might be working hard and hustling and busy, and you're the type of person that many of us are, that if we're not sweating and we're not working hard and we're not under pressure, then we don't feel like we're accomplishing. Yes, but is your ladder against the right wall? Are you climbing to the right place? Ma chovat ha'adam be'olamo. What is your job in your individual world? Find out. How do we do that? One, like we said, points of contention. Where are the challenges, setbacks? That's life talking to you. That's God saying, hey, tap on the shoulder. We need to talk for a minute. This is important. Second is the exact opposite, which is finding the moments and identifying the silence, tapping into the energies of nature that have the exact opposite. They bring out the quiet in our brain, experiencing and digesting non-judgment, not second guessing everything. Next step, and the final step in this class, is practical applications of how to identify thoughts that might be holding us back. So we'll talk about 4. Our minds have a very clever and persistent way of convincing us that something isn't true or something is true, right? These inaccurate thoughts, they create a negative thinking. If we can recognize them and learn to challenge them and learn to use them correctly, then we'll be able to identify more. So one is black and white thinking, type of person that sees everything as one way or another, without any in between. Life is always all about being completely perfect, accomplishing it exactly the way it has to be all the time, or I'm not doing it at all, and I'm a big failure because I'm a loser because I can't do anything right. There's no room for like, hey, life's kind of gray most of the time. And those of us that have those train of thoughts and think that way, this discussion is for you, and it's also for your kids, because you might get those kids that are black and white and go to sleep on time and do their homework and return their library books on time. And then you might get those that live in the gray zone. If you're black and white, they'll have a very hard time identifying with you. 2, personalizing, assuming you're to blame for anything that goes wrong. That person didn't smile today and it's my fault. They're upset with me. If there's something going wrong with the friendship circle you're in, it's my job to stop it. It's my responsibility. It's all about me. If my parents don't have a happy marriage, it's because of me and I have to do something about it. When you don't really have the tools, you're a kid, you're a child. No matter how old you are, you're still a kid and a child. Well, not a kid, but you are a child of your parents and you don't necessarily have the tools, and it's not necessarily your fault. Personalizing is also something that really holds us back. Filter thinking, which is choosing to see only the negative. Something happens, some people kind of bounce right back, move forward, so on and so forth. But no, you choose to see only the negative. This is bad right now. There's nothing good here, so on and so forth. I've worked with programs all around the world. I've had certain situations that I'll just run it by really quickly. We were heading up north in Israel, and our bus broke down, and the closest place was some random train station that we sat for a few hours. We all just sat there, kind of made the best of it. But make a short story long, is from that unity, a boy and a girl met. Now they're married and so on and so forth. And they really got to unite through that experience. Yeah, you could choose to just see the negative, but you know what? There's something positive that's going to come as well. Catastrophizing is the last one, is where you assume the worst possible outcome is going to happen. Not just like seeing the negative, but, oh, this is really going to destroy us. This is really blah, blah, blah. The worst ever is going to happen. You missed your flight. Okay, unless you're in a dangerous location, so on and so forth. I'm sure there's another flight you can catch and maybe even miss the day that you paid in the hotel. But life is not over, and there's no reason to torture yourself and your family because of it. Make the best of it. Don't make like the world is ending. These are just four types of ways our brain kind of distorts our healthy way of thinking. So we spoke about step number one of our journey, which is identify. We have remove and go ahead, which are another two steps that we'll be talking about, God willing, in future classes, future podcasts. And I hope you enjoyed this class, because I know that I did. And I look forward to the next time that we're able to connect. And I hope you do too. This is Chaim Levy on Noise and Music.